Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
That, sir, serves and seeks for gain, and follows but for form, will pack when it begins to rain, and leave thee in the storm. Thy will tarry, and the fool will stay, and let the wise man fly. The knave turns fool that runs away, the fool no knave pert eye.
Wow, and you thought the words spewing forth from the financial world were hard to understand.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
His name, William Shakespeare. Born in 1564, this well-known English playwright, poet, and actor is still today regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's greatest dramatist, which might help to understand the over-dramatic performance we just witnessed by America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. While Aaron studied theater in high school and college and thus is quite familiar with the name William Shakespeare, I, for one, am not. I know very little about Shakespeare except maybe for that most famous of all works, Romeo and Juliet, which, much to Aaron's surprise, I've never watched. Well, in preparation for this show, I did take a few minutes to find out more about this man by the name of Shakespeare, who also went by the names England's national poet, the Bard of Avon, and simply the Bard. For sure, Shakespeare was very successful, with over 39 plays and 154 sonnets to his name. The problem with his work, however, is the way people spoke English back in that day. For instance, imagine spending 2 hours and 45 minutes watching his most famous play, Romeo and Juliet, compliments of broken old world English. And you thought listening to a little man in a sweater vest talking for 28 minutes was tough. So what does the name of a fellow writing plays and sonnets have to do with a long list of names, titles, the dogmatic financial advice that happens to be doled out each day by the financial world? And what does that have to do with savers like you sitting there watching this show? Well, right now, we're going to take a look at just that. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, financial playwright and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And since we've already heard from America's favorite financial sidekick, who after that performance has a new nickname, Better Keep Your Day Job Aaron, we were going to introduce our other sidekick, a man with absolutely no acting skills whatsoever, the technical producer of our show, Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, there you sit, getting ready to watch another financial show. This one happens to be on retirement planning. And regardless of whether you are a longtime viewer of the Worry-Free Retirement or maybe just catching it for the first time, chances are, over the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to say something by name or refer to a financial product by name that you may or may not understand, or worse yet, have the wrong impression of. In other words, just as difficult as it is trying to understand the old English words of a playwright back in the 16th century, today's savers really struggle with just all of the jargon being spewed out of the mouths of us financial advisors. That's because the financial world is no different than any other language you and I are not used to speaking. That is, whenever you are trying to follow along with a conversation, teacher, and yes, the latest performance from the guy or gal at the free dinner seminar, if we don't understand the names and words being used to describe something, other than possibly being entertained in the short term, over the long term, the words we are hearing do us little good, and of course, we don't understand the meaning behind them, worse yet. This is why we decided to do an even deeper dive into What's in a Name, Part 2, and how and why the names we at Tony Walker Financial use to describe our services are so important for those savers who want to worry less about money and their retirement. Stay tuned, I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. Does the name James Altucher mean anything to you? Probably not. I'd never heard of James Altucher until I stumbled across this quote: "No matter who you are, no matter what you do, no matter what your audience is," he said this, 30% will love it, 30% will hate it, and the rest simply won't care. Kind of reminds me about that earlier performance by Aaron of William Shakespeare's King Lear. Now, while Aaron falls into the 30% that loves the work of Shakespeare, I, for one, fall into the camp who really could care less, which is the whole point, folks. We are all wired differently. We like and dislike different things, but that's a good thing, right? I mean, it would be boring if all we did was agree on everything and like the same thing and believe the same things. You know, to live life as if we are all the same would be pretty sad, unrealistic, and quite frankly, unhealthy. This is particularly true when it comes to the financial world, always telling you how to invest your money, how to spend it, and yes, even how much you should be giving away. You know, immediately following the tragic events of 9/11 and seeing my clients' accounts go tumbling down for 3 straight years as a result of the stock market loss that followed, I made up my mind to change the way I looked at money and people. And you know what I did? I decided to focus on the 30% of the population who I knew were savers. That is, those people who are more concerned about the return of their money as opposed to the return on it. This effort to find savers led me to the creation of something I trademarked called the 3 personalities of money. It's a concept that has allowed me to focus my life's work on those whom I call savers rather than spending my time chasing around those who are not, those I call investors and speculators. Oh, speaking of trademarks, one reason I work so hard at creating names and trademarking them is I found that the names, when properly associated with emotions, goals, dreams, and expectations, are really helpful in helping people remember you and what you do. Among the many trademarks I have created, here's just a few. And this show is one of those, of course, and that is the Worry-Free Retirement, which of course is trademarked. I just mentioned the 3 personalities of money. That's a trademark. Also, I have a book, and my favorite granddad, and I talk about it all the time, this lifetime income, something he called mailbox money.
Mailbox money!
That's trademarked. And yes, even a nickname I picked up after speaking to a large conference of advisors regarding the subject of annuities. That's right, the Annuity King. That too is trademarked. You see, folks, as much as some of the financial know-it-alls would like to have you believe, there is no one-size-fits-all in life, and there sure is no one-size-fits-all in retirement and the products you choose to invest in. This is why I refer to the Worry-Free Retirement as a process. It is not a product, it's not a transaction. It's a 5-step process that we go through to assist our clients so that they can stay on track, so that they won't be worried about retirement. And a big part of that process is an understanding of how savers think, and more importantly, how they spend money, which is why I created something, another trademark, I call the 3 halves of life. And I just want to take a moment to go through this because this is very, very important for those of you, even if you're retired or those nearing retirement, to understand what your spending will look like in retirement. I won't spend a lot of time on this. This is called the first half of life, and you can see the young couple there. And during the first half of life, this is a period of time when most people are trying to save. You know, a lot of people aren't really thinking about retirement in their 30s and 40s. That's because they're trying to raise kids, pay off debt, get their jobs off the ground, etc., etc. So quite frankly, this age group is not really our focus at Tony Walker Financial because they're not really thinking and planning for retirement. That's okay. Now we move over to what I call halftime. This is a really critical moment, and I'll be talking about this age group in just a second when I get out the whiteboard. Halftime generally is that period of time around 55 or 60 when somebody is truly thinking about retirement, and it usually goes up to around age 70. Now, why do I choose halftime? And if you'll notice, this blue represents the amount of money someone has saved. Well, that's the period of time usually between age 60 and 70 where most people have the ability to really use and enjoy their money. Maybe they're still in very good health. They can travel. Both spouses are still alive and well. Maybe they're wanting to start visiting grandkids. It goes on and on and on. In fact, this is where me and my wife Susan are. We are in halftime. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road, and this is what most financial advisors do not understand about retirement planning. This is called the second half of life. Notice this is the period of time, folks, when you should be relaxing. If you are still worried about money and you're in your 70s or 80s, something's wrong and it's obvious you don't have a plan. So depending on where you are, first half, halftime, or second half, we need to talk, especially for those of you who are at halftime, nearing retirement, or already retired. And here's what I would suggest you do. Go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com right now and click on that Let's Get Started button. In fact, we can even arrange a 10-minute free fiduciary phone call to simply find out a little bit about your stage in life, how much money you have to invest, what your concerns are, and then discuss further how we might help you worry less about money. So log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or give us a call at the toll-free number on your screen. We would love to hear from you and talk to you further. Okay, as we talk about these three halves of life, we're going to come back to the whiteboard. I'm going to talk about somebody who's in the early stages of halftime, and then someone is in the further stages of the second half of life. Some good stuff coming up. In fact, when I come back, we're actually going to have a little pop quiz to introduce the whiteboard segment. I'm Tony Walker. You're watching the Worry-Free Retirement. Stay tuned. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and our Live Well, Die Broke moment is a little different than normal because today I'm going to focus on one of my ex-employees at Tony Walker Financial. That's right, someone actually had the gall to quit working for me to chase after their own dreams, and in this case, the dreams of her family, and that is Miss Rachel Wilson. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Tony.
Well, as I just said, you worked with us for many years, but under some circumstances that came up with your family and the new business, you decided to take off on your own and join the family business. So give us an update real quick on how things are going and a little bit about the business your family started.
Sure, yeah, things are going great. We're staying super busy, and we decided to open up a coffee shop and cafe here in town, something that I think the city really needed.
Yeah, and you named it Q. We're talking about brand names. Where did this name Q come from, Rachel?
It came from my dad. We were driving in the car one day, and he thought it would be a fun idea, a fun name to go with, something marketable and really catchy, and it worked.
And it has worked because I meet a lot of people around town. Certainly easy to remember. I like that. Now, why being such a small business and being such a young business? I know you all opened smack dab right in the middle of the pandemic. Why do you think you all have been so successful in your endeavor right now?
I really do think it comes down to our customer service and the attention to detail. People, that goes a long way with people, and that's something we take a lot of pride in.
And, you know, I like to say around here that I tend to eat my own cooking, meaning that the things we do and the products we offer, I tend to purchase those for myself. But you all really do eat your own cooking. Tell us a little bit about how you make things from scratch there, and again, maybe why that makes you unique from possibly some of the huge big boys, as we like to call them, in your business?
Sure, yeah. A lot of our stuff, well, actually all of our stuff is made in-house in our bakery, and that is something that the city doesn't have. Most of the other places, things come in frozen, and they heat them up and serve them. Ours, everything is made in scratch by us, and that people really, really love that.
Well, Rachel, so much appreciate your time with us, and excited about the opportunities for you and your family. And again, thank you for your service to those out there. We sure miss you, but in the meantime, you make it a great day.
Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome. All right, let's get back to the show on what's in a name. And before I go to the whiteboard, let me ask you to take a quick little quiz consisting of just 2 questions. See if you can answer them correctly. First, let's go to the first one. What is the best financial product to invest in when regarding retirement planning? Is it A, pork belly futures, B, growth mutual funds, C, annuities, D, gold, or E, it all depends? Now take a minute, think about it before you quickly answer. And if you answered E, it all depends, you are correct. Now the second question is as follows. What is the only financial product that can guarantee an income you can never outlive? Again, is it A, pork belly futures, B, growth mutual funds, C, annuities, D, gold, or E, it all depends? Again, take a minute. Wait a minute, make sure. Well, guess what? The answer is actually C, annuities, which to some of you might really surprise you. That's because the name given to the only product that you can never outlive, which is annuities, has been maligned by many in the financial world who do not sell them, nor, quite frankly, know anything about retirement planning. But just because somebody doesn't sell something nor understand the proper use of a product doesn't mean they should avoid it at all costs. Well, let's hope they don't. But since you might have heard a negative information about these annuities, what I'm going to try to do is play a little trick on you right now. We're going to change the name of annuities to that of mailbox money. So what does this change in name do to your perception and understanding of annuities? Does the thought of mailbox money, that is, having this guaranteed lifetime income, kind of put a smile on your face? Well, it should, and if it does, I just described to you the only tool that can provide mailbox money for the rest of your life, and that is an annuity. So if you're one of those savers who is worried about the future performance of all that money you have at risk in the stock market, or you're a saver who is frustrated with interest rates at the bank that are paying next to nothing, let me show you how annuities, if used properly, can be just the ticket for you in a worry-free retirement. And I've done something kind of interesting here. Of course, the title of our little segment is Mailbox Money. And as you'll notice, I've picked 2 totally different individuals. In the first example, I have someone who is age 60. And in the second example, we're using someone who is age 80. And you might say, well, Tony, 60 and 80, can both of those type of people, those age groups, purchase annuities? And the answer is absolutely, if it's the right type of annuity. So let's start with a person that's age 60, their marital status, they're married, they own a home, but they owe $150,000 on that home. They own a couple of cars. One of the cars they owe $25,000. They have adult children, but one of them is still in college. And they're spending quite a bit of money. They're at halftime, so they're spending about $6,500 a month. And when asked about when they're going to take his and her Social Securities, they don't know. They don't really understand Social Security. And they have no clue in retirement what their future expenses are going to be. So they have this 401k. They're over 59 and a half. They've talked to me. They're talking about rolling this over to something that we could offer, possibly our split IRA concept with Charles Schwab on the front end and our beloved mailbox money on the back end. Certainly we could work with this couple and show them how to use the annuity, but in their case, the annuity, the mailbox money, it's called deferred, okay? So they don't need the mailbox money right now, but we want that account to start growing at a guaranteed rate so that in the future, at some deferred age, could be 65, 70, whatever they want to do, then we would pour out to them at that point, let's just say it's age 70, mailbox money, okay, for life. Well, now let's slide over to the 80-year-old. A little different here. Now, in this example, this 80-year-old has an IRA. It was rolled over from her deceased husband's 401k. Obviously, she's a widow. Her home and car are paid for. So again, No monthly payments there to worry about. Children are grown, but look at this, has a grandchild in college that she wants to help. She's only spending $2,500 a month, and of that, $1,800 a month from Social Security. Also, she's already got some savings, and this is what I see a lot of time. Again, in the second half of life, people start spending less and less money. But I told her, I said, hey, what if we started this money and started sending you some mailbox money now for the rest of your life? And she's like, well, what would I do with all that money, Tony? And this is where we could parlay some of this money down to the grandchildren now, whether they need it or not. I think they should really be considered to get this because there are some tax issues on that $300,000 when this person dies. They're going to come forth. I call it the tax tumor. So why not pay the taxes now? We know the taxes are low, and give that money now to kids and grandkids tax-free, and you'll never run out of money. So as you can see, we have two different examples of mailbox money. And you might be sitting there right now saying, Tony, this all sounds well and good. Is there some reading material I can get on this? Absolutely. In fact, what I would invite you to do is log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and in the download section, you're going to download the Mailbox Money for Life booklet, absolutely free booklet, as well as the Annuities Made Easy. And I can assure you, you read those two booklets, and you're going to know most of the financial advisors out there selling them. TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and while you're there, if you'd like to meet in person or talk by phone, just click on that Let's Get Started button. Okay, what does the Bible really have to say about names and giving money and how much we should give and not making a big theatrical performance out of our giving? There's some really good scripture I'm going to cover. Let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Warning, a licensed insurance agent with no prior knowledge of annuities can legally toss your 401k into an annuity. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. It is estimated that each day over 10,000 people will turn 65, which means a lot of advisors selling a lot of annuities. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
And now back to the Worry-Free Retirement with your host, the Annuity King himself, the Money Missionary. Some of you know him as Coach Walker, others know him as Poodles.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. That's enough. Thank you. All right, last week we talked about my spiritual name being that of a fellow in the Bible by the name of Barnabas, a name translated that means son of encouragement. As we learned in Acts 4:36 and 37, Barnabas's generous spirit showed itself when he sold a tract of land and freely gave 100% of the proceeds to the needs of others, which begs the question, is this the way every Christian should give 100% of all that we have? And if we give, should we make a huge performance of it or do as Barnabas did and just lay it at the feet of others and walk away? Well, 1 Corinthians 3:20 says of this action, let no one boast in the things of man. In other words, give as you feel led to give, but don't put a show on. Yet, as Christians, our giving can turn theatrical really quick. It's a phenomenon I cover in my latest book, Live Well, Die Broke, called The Guilt Trip Gospel. We see how this scene plays out in Acts chapter 5, verse 1 and 2, where after witnessing Barnabas' 100% gift to the needs of others, a Christian couple by the name of Ananias and Sapphira fall into the guilt trip gospel and begin to show an evil side to their motives to give. The reaction from Peter to them putting up a false front is found in verse 3, and he calls them out on it and accuses Satan himself of hijacking their performance of generosity. Take a close look at verse 4 where Peter says, wait a minute, when you had this land, Ananias, was it not your own? Let's stop right there. You see, folks, many of you have been put on the guilt trip gospel, that the money that is in your current possession is not your own. What Peter is simply reminding us of is this: what you have right now, the money or land that is in your possession, is your own. You own it and you control it. And while certainly we must acknowledge that God has blessed us with what we own, He doesn't need this money. In other words, if you give it to Him because you feel you have to, or to impress Him or others with your gifts, don't do it. You know, over the years, after spending thousands of hours with thousands of people who have fallen victim to the guilt trip gospel, understanding that what you currently own, in other words, the money God is entrusting to you to manage and that it is in your control, is one of the most liberating, giving concepts one can live by. The result of such an attitude of gratitude, as led by God's Spirit, will look something like this. So let's go to 2 Corinthians 9, 6, and 7. And it says this: the one who gives sparingly will reap sparingly, and the one who gives bountifully will reap bountifully. And here's the real kicker, folks, in verse 7, let each one do just as he has purposed in his heart, not grudgingly, not under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. I would say amen to that. Well, how about you? You might be sitting there saying, Tony, that's some wonderful information, and I'll sure put some thought into that. But right now, I need your help on what to do with my money, how to better manage it, how to use and enjoy it before it's too late, and yes, maybe even how to give it to others while I still can. Well, if that's you, if you're sitting there with no game plan, if you feel like you've got way too much money at risk, or maybe you're not making enough return on your money, we need to talk. My name is Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've been helping savers worry less about money by creating game plans that are geared towards their financial personality, and I want to help you too. And best of all, it's very easy to get started working with us, and there's no cost or no obligation to meet with me and to receive your free written game plan. Here's all you do. Just simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and once there, you're going to click on that Let's Get Started button. Now, when you click there, that information is confidentially sent to our offices, and we will reach back out to you for either a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, or if it warrants, I personally will meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Do it now. Click on that Let's Get Started button, or if you like, simply call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, next week we've got an exciting show for you because it's going to answer a question that many people are asking me. What is this retirement thing really going to look like, Tony, and how much am I going to need to spend to still live comfortably in retirement? A really good show coming up next week, but you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.